Hello all, this is Piyush. So welcome back to another lecture on the self-study history optional series. I believe that you must have seen the last lecture, and if you haven't seen the last lecture, in that case, see it in our channel. In the last lecture, we have actually discussed about the changing trend and the nature of questions. And I must tell you that in last few years, there is a dynamic change that could be noticed in the pattern of the questions being asked in the UPSC Civil Services examination in history optional. Most of the time, you have been getting this suggestion that keep your sources minimal. But the question is this, do you really believe that these minimalistic sources are catering sufficiently your requirements? Let's say, for examples, it is mostly suggested to you that as far as this ancient India is concerned, Upinder Singh is the most relevant book. But then, have you ever noticed it that whether with the help of Upinder Singh, are you able to write the questions being asked in previous years? For example, we can take the papers of last 2 years and let us try to understand that whether Upinder Singh is sufficient enough or it is the most relevant book even in the present scenario or not. Let's see some of the papers. Specifically, I'll be going to refer the paper of 2023 and 22, right? So this is the paper of 2023. So if we'll see the paper of 2023, in that case, let's go to the question part. Okay, these are the questions. Now, in fact, if it comes to the question, in that case, I must say that most of the questions could not be answered by you perfectly if you have only referred Upinder Singh. Let's say this is the question, the Neolithic age represents a revolution due to the significant changes that took place during this period examined. So basically this question cannot be answered only by Upinder Singh, I'm telling you. Maybe he'll be able to answer, he'll be able to write the answer, but then this answer won't be having all the points. But still, I believe that this particular question can be managed. But then when it comes to this question, it is about Indus Saraswati cultural zone exhibits both homogeneity and diversity, that cannot be written perfectly. Then it comes to the next question, how do the comparative study of language, archaeological sources and vast corpus of Vedic literature help to determine the Aryan problem in Indian history? It's not possible for you to write the answer of this question because no relevant material has been provided to you. In the same way, how far the Sangam literature acts as a window into the social and cultural traditions. Again, I believe this cannot be answered properly. Then analyze the contours of imperial ideology as exhibited during the modern period. Again, I believe that it cannot be answered properly. Evaluate the status of women in the Gupta period. Again, I'll say that this question you won't be able to answer. Then analyze the tenets, spreads and the impacts of Bhakti movement. Cannot be answered. How far the temple architecture under the Cholas became more refined and grandiose as compared to the early South Indian temple. Again, I'll say that you won't be able to write a perfect answer with the help of Upinder Singh. Then it is correct to say that the post-Gupta period was remarkable for the expansion of religious cults in India. Partially you can write. Let's count, you'll be able to write this particular question. So now, in 2023 paper, that's the reality. Let's see the paper of 2022. Now, this is the paper of 2022, yeah? Fine. So, if we'll see this paper, in that case, let us try to examine the same sort of thing. Okay, fine. So, this is the question. The urban character of the Harappan civilization was a result of neither of any outer influence nor a sudden act, but a gradual evolution. You'll be able to write the answer, but then historiographies are completely missing. Okay, and then it comes to the foreign text. Okay, partially you can say that you can write this answer. Okay, fine. Now the next question is about Buddhism and its relationship with the Upanishads. You won't be able to write this answer. Okay, moving next. The economic achievement of the Gupta were the culmination of a process which began during the Kusana period. I'll say perfectly you won't be able to write this answer. Then Ashoka's Dhamma was propagated not just for moral upliftment and social harmony, but also for the extension of the state's authority. Analyze the statement. Here again, I'll say that you won't be able to write the answer of this particular question perfectly. Partially, you can write it from here. With the help of the representative examples, delineate the main difference between the Nagara and the Dravidian style. Of course, you won't be able to write this answer of this particular question. Moving next is about evaluate the importance of tripartite struggle. No information at all has been provided in Upinder Singh for this. Moving to next question is throw light on the chief characteristics of Tamil Bhakti movement. There is no information provided. Kalhana's Raj Tarangini, no information has been provided. Now this is the reality. So after seeing the last 2 years paper, I can tell you very confidently that if you have been relying completely only on Upinder Singh for answering the questions being asked in the ancient part, in that case I think you are relying on a wrong source, because this is not catering all your requirements. That's one thing. The second question, again it is very important, that have you noticed one thing? Who all are the aspirants, those who manage successfully to cross 300, and in most of the cases you'll be able to note down one thing, that only those students, those who have done their masters, they are able to score very good. Now the question is that, have you ever thought on this particular question, that why such kind of candidates are able to cross 300, those who have done their masters? So now I think these questions are very important, and you should think about these questions very logically. And if you think about these questions logically, in that case, you all will be able to get 1 point. Then that don't get misguided. If you are getting misguided, in that case, only after losing 1 or 2 attempts, you will understand the reality, but by that time it will be too late. That's why I'll suggest you one thing, that keep your sources minimal, but then don't rely on one source. I'm not asking you to read multiple books, but what I'm trying to suggest you, that read the most relevant topics from different sources and then compile it in one place, and that's how make your sources minimal. So in this particular video, what we are going to do, we are just going to discuss about the topic wise reading list. So this is what we'll be discussing one by one, for various topics. Fine. So here in the part 1, we'll be discussing about the first 5 topics of ancient India. And as I am telling you that what I'm going to suggest you the topic wise reading list. And in fact, when it comes to my foundation course, what I do exactly, I just try to compile the materials from the most relevant sources. Maybe here I have been suggesting you slightly less. Why? Because when you have been preparing the history optional by your own, frankly speaking, it is not possible for one aspirant to go for multiple readings. But then what I have done, that I have suggested you the most relevant materials, so you can definitely consult them. And in fact, I'll say that you should definitely consult them if you really want to cross 300 or you want to get good marks in history optional. So one by one, let's discuss about the various topics. Okay, so this is the first topic, and this topic is basically sources. Now, in the last lecture, I have already told you that what is the present situation of the sources, what kind of questions are being asked from the sources. So if you have understood that, as per that particular need, I'll suggest you 3 different sources, which are actually covering your relevant content properly. And these 3 books are, first book is the prehistory and proto-history in India. That's chapter 2, written by V.K. Jain. Then there is another book. This is the most popular book, A History of Ancient and Early Medieval India. That's written by Upinder Singh. And then a textbook on historiography, the chapter number 12, this is written by E. Sridharan. These are 3 most important books, what you should definitely consult when it comes to ancient India. And one will go book by book also. So let's, see the books one by one. Now this is the book. That's why I have just kept the picture also here, that you should not get confused. So this is the book, and in fact this particular book is helping you in cover 2 or 3 topics. But here we have been consulting just for one topic. And what is that particular topic? It's about basically the archaeological sources. The chapter number 2. As you can see here, the chapter number 2 is dealing with basically the archaeological sources, and it is beautifully talking about the recent changes that have taken place in archaeological sources. Now we are not following it in with the same perspective or in the same way, the way you have been, we had been consulting the archaeological sources earlier. So we have changed our pattern. So if you really wish to understand that how come the archaeological sources are being used these days, for that it is undoubtedly one of the best sources that we should see. Moving to the next topic. Now the next book. So the next book is A History of Ancient and Early Medieval India. Now, there is a chapter here that's called as, says, Understanding Literary and Archaeological Sources. And in fact, in this particular topic, there are a couple of things that you should focus upon, such as when it is talking about basically the Vedas, the part which is dealing with the Vedas. This part has been really written beautifully. And again, I'll say, if you haven't seen the last lecture, in that case, you just go and check out this last lecture. And I have told you that now couple of sources in future are going to become more relevant, and that's why this is the time to collect content on these topics. The Purana, though it is not catering exact requirement, but still the Puranas and the Dharmasastras, like of course the Ramayana and Mahabharata, these are couple of parts which are important. For Buddhist literature, it hasn't given a very good information, but yet you can consult. So yes, I won't say being very I won't say to be very selective in this area. But yes, of course, as far as this topic is concerned, this you should definitely see. But there are so many unnecessary parts of the details that have been given in this particular book. So that you should avoid, and you should try to consult only the relevant parts. Okay. Now let's move to the third book of this. Now this is the book of a textbook of historiography by E. Sridharan. This is one of the beautiful books I have ever come across. And if you really have history optional, in that case, you should read couple of chapters from this book. So if it comes to this, so there's just one chapter, that's chapter number 12, which is the ancient Indian historiography. And in this particular book, you can find really some beautiful ideas, and then keywords, and then I must say points to write the answers. So that's why there's just one book which is dealing with various kind of sources. First, some generalistic ideas, and then some specific sources. So the way I had been discussing about the historical traditions, gathas, the Narsamis, then the Akhyan, Itihas, Vamsa, Vamsanucharita, Purana, they have written beautifully about this. So at least couple of pages should be covered from here. That can really enhance the quality of your answer if you have been consulting these materials. Okay. Now let's move to the next topic. So our next topic is the prehistory and proto-history. While having the discussion, I did tell you that there are very less number of questions being asked from this topic. But yes, on regular intervals, that is usually 5 to 6 years, you'll find one question is being asked. That's why you should not waste much of your energy into this particular part, right? So what is the best way of covering this? Again, I'll say that the book that I have, we have already seen, the prehistory and the proto-history, the prehistory and the proto-history of India by V.K. Jain sir. Then it comes to again the book of Upinder Singh. These two books are very relevant. But again, how to cover it, let me tell you. Now, when it comes to the first book, the V.K. Jain's book, in that case, there is just one chapter, or max to max you can go for 2 chapters which are important for you. They are very lucid chapters. They have been written in such a simple manner that nobody is going to have any difficulty while referring this book. So there is one chapter which is based on Neolithic. And as when it comes to prehistory, you should understand one thing, कि maximum chances are there to maximum chances of questions are there only from this Neolithic, and that's why you should also focus more on Neolithic. As far as this Paleolithic and Mesolithic are concerned, what I believe that only from the Mesolithic, their painting is one relevant topic from where the question can be asked. That's why avoid them, focus more on the Neolithic, and this Neolithic should be covered from here, right? Then there is one more topic, that is non-Harappan Chalcolithic culture. Now, non-Harappan Chalcolithic culture is distinct from the Harappan Chalcolithic culture. That could be noticed mostly in the western part of India. That is precisely called as non-Harappan Chalcolithic. I'm not going into much detail right now, because basically there are 3 different kind of Chalcolithic cultures could be noticed in India. One is Harappan Chalcolithic, non-Harappan Chalcolithic culture, and then it comes to the copper hoard culture, right? So, of course, in the topic we are going to cover more such kind of thing. So now it is about non-Harappan Chalcolithic cultures. That should be also covered from here, because on regular occasions you find the question from this part, but I'm telling you that most of the books are not giving you the reference, right or the relevant material on this. So that's why when it comes to this part, chapter number 5 and chapter number 6, this is the only thing I have been suggesting you. Then it comes to the next reading, right? So when it comes to the next reading, again the book of Upinder Singh, right? So from this particular part, again there are only few pages that you need to refer. Don't read the whole book, because it's written in a very complicated manner, and it is not catering your requirement at all. And that's why use this particular chapter very smartly. Only there are a couple of parts which are important for you, and I'm telling you that what are the parts which are important. So basically when it comes to this, so this part, the transition to food production in Indian subcontinent. Now this is one part which is relevant. And then the life of the early farmers and the changes in the cultivability. 1, 2, 3. Leave rest of the parts. So as far as this second chapter is concerned, only these two, these two books, and I have already told you that what are the relevant areas of these two books. Let's move to the third topic. Now the third topic is Indus Valley civilization, right? So when it comes to the Indus Valley civilization, I think I am not supposed to tell you that as far as this Indus Valley civilization is concerned, undoubtedly this is important. This was always important, this is going to be important. So it is important forever, and that's the reason because of what you should prepare this particular topic well, that any sort of question is being asked to you, you are in a condition to write the answer of these questions, right? Now the point is that, again, I won't say that Bhupender Singh has not given the information properly. Actually that book is really good on IBC, but then again I must say that it is not covering all the dimensions and the aspects properly. There are so many dimensions of IBC which are missed by it, and that's the reason because of what you should try to consult some other relevant documents or the materials. Let's see that what would be the best documents for this, right? So there is one book that is written by Ranavir Chakravarti, and I am telling you that this is the book which is gradually becoming more and more relevant these days, and that's why I developed this habit of reading couple of chapters from this book. So this is the book written by Ranavir Chakravarti. Then it comes to the next book by Bhupender Singh only, and the third, that is Understanding Harappan, that's written by Serene Ratnagar. Now this book is very important. I'm not pretty sure that whether he'll be able to consult this book or not, because though it is a thin book, right, but still reading the whole book would be quite helpful to you, because since it is completely based on Harappan civilization and it is written by one of the most important professor, the professor who has worked on Indus Valley civilization is Serene Ratnagar, and she was initially working with JNU. So that book is very important. So let's see one by one the various books. Now when it comes to the first book, so in the first book of Ranavir Chakravarti, there is one topic. It's about from the beginning of human presence to first civilization up to 1500 BC. So as you can see that this is the chapter which is relevant for IBC, but then not the whole book. Rather the substantial part which is dealing with the IBC you should consult. Now I won't suggest you to read the early things about Paleolithic, Mesolithic or Neolithic from this. So it is though giving the information in a very lesser way, but yet it is important because it deals with some of the great conceptual ideas of IBC, and that's why you should consult it. Now the next book is basically the book of Bhupender Singh. Now I don't need to tell you that what are the important, this book is undoubtedly very important, and in fact you by seeing the book only you'll be able to understand that what are the parts which are relevant. So of course it deals with the origin, it deals with the decline. This is chapter number 4 where you can find all this information. But then in some of the places you will find that the informations are not very relevant, because you have to understand one thing, that why do we study the books? In order to write the answers of the questions. So we should have, or we should get the relevant points, the relevant points which could be produced in the answer script. Sometimes the book is writing there couple of things beautifully, but then of course they are unnecessary, they are non-relevant to us. Why? Because we cannot produce them in the answer script, and that's why you can avoid several pages from this book in order to get information on IBC. And then it comes to the third book, which is the most important book, is about the book of Serene Ratnagar, and that is Understanding Harappa. And as you can see that it has covered most of the dimensions of Indus Valley civilization, most of the dimensions, like anything you'll talk about, you'll find it here. And that's the reason because of what, I have been referring this particular book to you. What I'll suggest you, of course, as I told you that it is not possible for you to read the whole book, and that's why what do you do, what you should do, that try to identify the areas for what information have been already collected from Upinder Singh. And then the areas where you find that informations are missing, for that part you should consult basically, you should identify those chapters and you should actually consult them. So that's how you can cover this book, so don't read the whole book. Again, I'm saying that there were so many writings on Upinder Singh, Indus Valley Civilization, but it is not possible for you to cover all those things, right? Of course, when it comes to our foundation, my list is much more wider because there recently one historian who is working, it's called as Nayanjot Lahiri. And Nayanjot Lahiri, now she is working with the Ashoka University. Now she has done a marvelous work, a path-breaking work on IVC. And in fact, this is one of the most recent relevant books on IVC. So of course, while delivering the lecture in foundation, I do incorporate various parts from that book also, but then it is practically not possible for you, and that's why I won't suggest you that particular book. So avoid that book, right? Let's move to the next topic. So the next topic is the megalithic culture. Now megalithic culture is again is a kind of topic from where you do not find the questions regularly. On some intervals, you do find the questions on megalithic, and that's why you should not put or you should not give much of your energy to this particular topic. Rather, cover it in such a way that you are having ample amount of content to write any question which is being asked on megalithic, and that's why I won't ask you to read any book. What is the best way of covering it? Read my notes on on this megalithic culture. So just couple of page notes is there, and that's sufficient enough. Any dimension question is being asked, asked with any dimension, you'll be able to answer this question. Don't worry at all, right? So that notes is sufficient. Okay, fine. Let's move to the this is the note, this is the copy. So of course, and in fact I have highlighted the other things also. This is the best notes. So you don't need to consult anything else apart from this. Let's move to the next topic. Now, next topic is basically the Aryan and the Vedic period. So, I again should not tell you that this topic has become very important these days. Though while telling you the analysis, I did tell you that the number seems to be slightly lesser, the number of questions, but yet it is very important, and in coming few years, you'll find the increasing number of questions from the Vedic period, and that's why be ready for that. Now, what are the relevant sources? So here I have just kept two important books. One is the book of R.C. Majumdar. That is a wonderful book on basically the Vedic part, right? So this is an advanced history of India, and I have specified the page numbers also between 24 to 53. These pages are sufficient enough. And then of course the second book is Exploring Early India, that's chapter 2 by Ranavir Chakravarti. If you have been reading these two books, let me tell you very frankly, they are going to cater most of your requirements of the Vedic period. So of course there were so many new writings also, but yet I believe that these two are sufficient. Let's see the books separately. Now this is the book. This is an advanced history of India, and it is written by three great scholars of great scholars, R.C. Majumdar, Hemchand Rai Chaudhary, and Kalinkar Datta. These three scholars are there. Of course, it is an older book, but yet it is relevant. And if I am suggesting this particular book, let me tell you one thing. With full responsibility, I have been suggesting this book to you. Keep in mind. Okay. So when it comes to this, so basically there are a couple of chapters which are important. So chapter number 2, the early Vedic age, chapter number chapter number 3 and 4, these are two chapters that you can consider. So these in this particular book, you can find a very different kind of presentation of that particular topic. Look, there is another book which is very important that I have missed here. I'll talk about that later, right? So basically after that, you can see this book. Now this book again I'll say very important, and if you have been merging the information of the last book and this book, in that case you'll be having a better conceptual understanding on the Vedic period, right? And this particular book, which is the chapter number 2, which is dealing with this, the chapter number 2, yes. This is dealing with this chapter is dealing with the Vedic period. Now, what is the beauty of this book? This book is again giving a conceptual clarity, and there were so many questions that have been directly picked up from this book. Again, a professor from JNU, Jawaharlal Nehru University, but this book is again it's a wonderful book on Vedic period. So as I was telling you that there are some more books on Vedic period that I believe that you should consult, and again I'll tell you that these kind of informations are being very much incorporated by me in my foundation course, because they are important. And that book is of B.D. Mahajan, again that history of ancient India. That book is also very important. But as I have already told you that here I have been suggesting you, here I have been basically suggesting you only those books. Yeah. Here I have been suggesting you only those books what I believe that you can do it by your own. And I am telling you very, in a very responsible manner, that if you have been covering these materials, in that case, I must tell you that your preparation would be much better than your competitors, because these kind of things are not being even incorporated in the various kind of notes, either it is printed notes or the class notes, of class notes which are available in the market. And that's why, if you really have this aspiration of crossing 300, in that case, these are the minimal sources, right? So you should consult these sources from the various, the various sources, and then you should compile it one place. In this particular lecture, I have just covered the first 5 topics. Rest 7 will be covered in part 2. Okay. One more thing that's very important, and listen this very carefully, that the point is that is it possible for you to collect all these materials by your own? So don't worry at all. I have done the solution for that as well, right? Now what is the solution? One thing, I have already told you, that in my foundation course, everything is included, right? So check out my notes, you'll find everything which is there in the class notes. Precisely, I'm telling you, not in the printed notes, in the class notes. Everything is beautifully covered. All these dimensions you'll find in the class notes. So that's one thing. But then, if you are not in a condition to join the foundation, in that case what you can do, that this is my Telegram channel, and in my Telegram channel I'm going to start this initiative of putting the notes every day of one topic, and that too in a continuity. So you can follow that. So there you can find the topic wise articles, or let's say the notes, whatever it is, right? Ultimately it will be uploaded one by one in the Telegram channel. So you can scan this to join my Telegram channel. And then the last thing, if you want all these materials in one place in a very much compiled manner, in that case you can find it even in our website. So if you'll go to our website, there is a particular corner that's called as free resources. In free resources, if you'll go to history optional materials, in that case we'll find all these materials compiled in this particular manner for sources, first topic, second topic, third topic, and so on, and you can download all these materials, right? So if you really want to prepare history optional by your own, then I have just eased the thing as much as possible for me. And as I have told you that in our foundation course, we do compile all these materials, and in fact I'll say not only these materials, in fact I'll say some more relevant resources in the materials in our foundation course. So if you really wish to join it, you can definitely plan for it. But then if you want to prepare it by your own, these are the minimalistic sources that you should refer. Thank you very much.